Today, folks, we're going to be talking about Nintendo Switch 2 because a developer, an actual video game developer, has now spoken publicly. So not one of these things that's like off the record or one of these things where, hey, I know a developer and they talk to me and then you hear it from me. No, we actually hear directly from them, and they go into quite a bit of detail about the Nintendo Switch 2, the way AAA games are going to work and run, and their understanding of things and the pricing and why AAA is so gung-ho about Switch 2, because a lot of people are concerned that the Nintendo Switch 2, while it might get a bunch of AAA games, no one's going to want to play them there. It'll be like the Switch where they kind of run like crap. Like, oh, it's cool to have Doom Eternal here, but it looks and doesn't run great, so we'd rather play it anywhere else, including Steam Deck, but a Nintendo Switch 2. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore, and you should already know that based on the specs and all the rumored stuff out there, but hearing directly from a developer is important. Now, what I want to note here is I originally found this over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, and I don't know who this developer is. This is one of the things, you got to have a little faith here that the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit is calling them a developer, and then they're also being called a developer over on this forum. But it seems like the developer status was confirmed by the moderators, but there's a degree of separation between their public identity and them actually being a developer. What I mean is, just because this user has a name on here doesn't mean it's their real name, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to figure out who they are, because the bottom line is, developers have to protect their identities for their job's sake and for all that other stuff. So it is a developer speaking publicly and directly, but it is one that we can neither confirm nor deny. And it comes from a forum that I've actually never been to, but it's a partner board with places like Family Boards and Installbase. Now, before we head on over, I just want to remind you we are on the road to 140,000 subscribers. If you're enjoying the video, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. All right. So they're on their third anniversary here, which I think is kind of cool. And you can see my account is pending approval. I signed up, but I'm not approved yet. That's all right. But as we scroll down here, you see Installbase third anniversary, and it's in this thread, and it starts on page 3, where the Nintendo Switch 2 is projected to sell between 15 to 17 million next year. We already talked about this. It's from DFC International. Anyways, as we scroll down here, we're going to find a user that's also using an awesome avatar called Matt. So we're going to keep going here because we're going to go over all of his posts to date. So there's the guy, Matt, and he's using the Darkwing Duck. I love Darkwing Duck. But as you see here, games like Witcher 4, GTA 6 are not going to be present on Switch 2, at least not in the form people want them in. It says Mibu no Ukami. This Matt developer guy comes in and says, you know what they say about assumptions. So look, when you're assuming that Witcher 4 and GTA 6 are not going to be on Switch 2, and if they are, they're going to be like really bad versions, he's essentially saying, one, yeah, don't make assumptions. They're probably going to be there too. Yeah, they aren't going to be like these shit versions of games that you might be trying to tell people they're going to be. So quite interesting, because obviously Nintendo has this reputation where really since the Wii days, they haven't had the best performing AAA games on their systems. All right, so as we go down, Matt has more to say because this person keeps interacting with him. So we're going to go down to his next post. And it says right here, it says, I mean, it's a pretty solid assumption with a pretty solid caveat. And then Matt says, it's not. Both Nintendo and third parties see Switch 2 AAA titles as a big potential growth driver. The hardware is very capable. There you go, directly from a dev. The hardware is very capable. Even AAA third parties think this is a massive growth driver. I mean, it's got to be a bigger one than Xbox, I would think, these days. No offense to Xbox, by the way. I got my Series X back there. I was playing Indiana Jones on it. Really enjoying the platform overall. But, its install base isn't anything to write home about. I don't know if the AAA game sales are that great on it. Anyways, coming back to the thread, we go down, and this person says, I didn't know you were here. So this is someone who recognizes them and says, regardless, my expectations were even higher. And then he says, just joined. Seems like a nice, chill community, and I have some wind down time around the holidays to chat a bit. I'm not at all saying it'll get everything always, but I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised. So, I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised. I think people are selling the system a little short, especially when we have those conversations about GTA 6. I think people are not understanding the excitement around this platform. So this person comes in and says, let's assume for a second that it is as powerful as an Xbox Series S. Okay. So this is the person who was doubting it in the first place. That's not going to be a big potential growth driver, as evidenced by the Xbox Series S. The Xbox Series S has been heavily discounted and still didn't sell to even casual consumers, and it has the exact same complement of games that the PS5 has when it comes to third-party support. The Xbox Series S has been as low as $229 USD. It's sold at best 15 to 20 million units. I'm not saying it won't get games or that those games won't sell, but to call it a growth driver, I'm entirely unconvinced of that potential. Now, if there was a non-handheld model that was equivalent or near equivalent to a PS5 in terms of performance and price, appropriately, that would be a different story. But if we're looking at $400+ Xbox Series S equivalent handheld, I don't think that's going to do the trick. I'd focus more on the delta. What third-party games did Switch not get that had it received would have had driven growth? Oh boy. I mean, before I even read what Matt says, it's not about the price point of Switch 2. It's going to be about the install base. The guy's missing the point here, I think, a little bit when talking about growth driver. The growth driver is the number of consumers you have to buy your product. Yes, it's not very high with Xbox. It's extremely high with Switch. Probably going to be extremely high with Switch 2. Let's see what Matt had to say. As others have said, this comparison to the S is frankly incredibly misplaced. The Switch 2 is going to sell incredibly well for the same reasons the Switch did. It will, no matter what they do, have a huge user base that third parties, both for technical and current market reasons, more dollars need to be squeezed out of their smaller pipelines in a more difficult economic situation, will be far more inclined and able to harness. In other words, yes, third parties are going to be massively wanting to support Switch 2 because the financial times are even harder and they need to squeeze as much money out of their titles as they can. So why wouldn't they put it on a massively popular platform? All right, let's move on. Let's get to Matt's next post here as we scroll down because he just keeps going and keeps going. Matt over here says, this guy comes in, the PS5 comes with 1 terabyte of storage. The Switch comes with 32 gigabytes or 64 gigabytes in case of the OLED model. The PS5 comes with a controller that's the vast majority of these third-party gamers want to play on. The Switch does not. What a weak-ass argument. I know I'm dropping a few swear words today, but what a weak argument. The Switch uses a standard controller layout. It just doesn't have analog triggers. Like that sucks, but and it's not a DualSense. It doesn't have all those features, but it has all the same controller layout. Weird. Anyways, so in terms of creating apples to apples comparison, I think you're looking at a greater investment in order to match what the PS5 delivers to these gamers on the Xbox Series X or the Xbox Series X for that matter. I believe we've seen numbers that there are significantly high crossover between devices. So the question, again, because we drive the delta. If Microsoft committed all of their games for Switch 2, I'm not sure it would make much of a difference without Game Pass. We've seen from Indiana Jones that these games aren't pushing people to buy outside of Game Pass. I think people ignore how bought into ecosystems many people are. Matt says, okay, well, I respect your opinion, but it's not the prevailing one. What a weird guy. All right, let's go on because Matt has more to say beyond page 3. This is why we didn't go to the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit because there's so much more being talked about here. So this Raymond Rice guy says, my hunch is that on average, Western publishers are going to be more willing to incorporate it into their development pipeline than the Japanese ones. What a weird take, by the way, looking at Sega/Bandai specifically, which is very weird because Bandai Namco has literal development teams dedicated to Nintendo, but maybe Capcom. Do you foresee this kind of geographical difference? And Matt says not at all. Yeah, it should just get third-party support across the board, regardless of the geographics. China, Japan, Europe, North America. Really don't foresee there being too many issues with where the games are made. And I don't know why people would think Western developers are more likely to support than the Eastern ones that were already kind of heavily supporting Switch as it was. But let's go ahead and dive deeper into this. So Mibo no Ukami, he just keeps going. Why don't people want an Xbox? Who are these people who want a Switch 2 but didn't want a Switch? I just think this is a bit of a leap. I don't think additional AAA games hurts you, obviously. I just don't think that they are selling points that you think they are. I think you are largely have TAM, and the only way to sufficiently increase your market share is by taking market share away from platforms. There are new gamers born every day, but there are also gamers who have died. There are console gamers who have moved on to PC, and there are some PC gamers who have moved on to console. What we know, though, is the overall TAM for the console market hasn't grown much at all. The vast majority of people who would buy a Switch 2 bought a Switch. Yes, I think the PS4 was able to grow its market at the expense of the Xbox 360 owners who didn't buy an Xbox One. The combined sales of the PS3 and Xbox 360 are almost identical to the combined sales of the PS4 and Xbox One. See above, this is certainly some movement, but the TAM is super consistent. I don't really see this massive market of people who are dying to play Nintendo IP, but skip the Switch because it'll play games that are already on their preferred consoles. I'm going to contradict myself here a bit in the sense that I'm very likely to get a Switch 2, though I didn't buy a Switch, but that has nothing to do with third-party games that I'll still play on more powerful hardware. So this is Matt comes in and he says, Switch owners buying more games because the platform has a larger library of high quality and popular titles is growth for Nintendo. And more people being able or interested in buying those games is growth for third parties. Impact of the total Switch 2 user base is sort of a separate discussion, as that doesn't need to happen for everyone to be happy with their increased software revenue. Yeah, look, you couldn't buy Call of Duty on Switch, everyone. You can on Switch too, but the games weren't there. So this is weird. All right. Matt, though, is just on fire. He's just on fire. Let's keep going with what Matty here has to respond to. So, okay, so maybe we're having two separate conversations then. I've also been focused on TAM, and I thought that's what everyone else was referring to as well. Could more software sell to existing users? Sure. I'm not sure how much of a crossover there is with Mario Party and Doom, but sure, it could result in additional sale. Why is there this assumption that nothing can sell on Nintendo but Nintendo? Okay. First of all, there is a lot of crossover. just right off the bat. This is somebody in the industry. When dealing with 100+ million user base, every kind of person owns the system. But the one biggest trait they all have in common is they want to have fun. And that fun can come from a dark FPS or a party game. The Switch already has an incredibly diverse user base, and the Switch 2 has been explicitly designed to expand that even more by being able to much better serve all sorts of games on a technical level. This is besides the fact that taste can develop over time. A 12-year-old with a Switch 2 in 2025 will still own it when they are 16 in 2029, and the system is still going strong. Secondly, enough fairly accurate information on the Switch 2's hardware has leaked for anyone to know it's very capable. And Nintendo, who has always prioritized cost, is comfortable with how much they will be charging for it. So we don't need to treat these things as great unknowns. Yeah, exactly. Let's keep this going. All right, let's scroll on down here because Maddie ain't done yet. All right, so it says, so if you don't believe it is an unknown, how much do you think the Switch 2 will cost? Do you foresee any pushback on the price from price-conscious consumers, many of whom bought the DS but not the 3DS, or bought the Wii and not the Wii U? Only Nintendo knows the price, and I'm not going to speculate, but we know Nintendo has no fear of, and saw success selling, a $350 barely updated model 5 years after launch. For a brand new system that will have no issue selling for years, no matter the cost, I see the general expectations of those who have considered the leaked specs as very reasonable. Honestly, it feels like your posts are from 10 years ago. Market considerations, especially around price, are vastly different now, and consumers have largely accepted that, saying, well, what about a 3DS and the Wii U, is not a compelling case, even ignoring all other issues that made those platforms significantly less appealing to the market than their predecessors. Thank you! Somebody gets it. No surprise it's a developer, but somebody understands the industry, finally putting some of these people that doom monger in place. Let's see what else Matt had to say. As we scroll down here, we see that Miibo no Ukami doesn't stop. Market considerations are vastly different, but that doesn't erase a pretty long history of struggling to get casual gamers to upgrade more expensive hardware. I'm so tired of this idea that the primary user base of Nintendo systems, especially Switch, are casuals. It's wild to me, man. Look at the game sales. It's crazy. All right, going back to this. Ignoring those factors, the argument of that was the past isn't super compelling. It suggests any product Nintendo makes will be successful no matter what price. I think that ignores a lot of headwinds Nintendo faces with Switch 2. More competition, a longer tail for PS5 compared to PS4, technological considerations, or to truly shared development pipelines. Also, a longer tailwind for PS5 is actually probably beneficial for Switch 2. So the longer PS5 is PlayStation's lead platform, I think it actually benefits Nintendo, but here we go. Okay, again, I respect your opinions. I just think, and in some cases, no, they are terribly off base. I mean, that's like a mic drop sort of thing. I just happen to know you're wrong, but all right. For the Reset Era members that seem to have started quoting this thread, yes, I'm the same person who was a member of that community starting in like 2000. No, I'm not, or have ever been claimed to be Matt P. There were people speculating that he was this former user that wasn't, but he actually was part of the community, just wasn't that person. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of this stuff with Matt, because we're not done yet. This guy says, do you think the market for Switch 2 is going to be equal that of Switch 1 if gamers are required to upgrade their storage? What is this guy doing? Okay. How many people in the chat have not upgraded their storage on Switch? I want to know down in the comments right now if you have not upgraded your storage on Switch. Literally, you can go to Walmart for like $20 and buy a micro SD card. It's very common. We've been buying memory cards, by the way, since what? When did we first have them? Was it the N64? There was probably some other platforms that had them as well. All right, going back here. He said, if gamers are required to upgrade their storage, do you think that increased cost will have an effect on the overall spend? What percentage of Switch users do you think have upgraded to 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes? Well, not very many. I mean, obviously, not to the some at the 1 terabyte, but 2 terabyte just came out. So the vast majority of current or past core Switch users have, in fact, upgraded their storage, which is also pretty cheap now. I mean, it's so obvious. I don't know what that guy's talking about. I mean, at some point, Matt just, I don't really understand what I mean. Credit to Matt, the developer, giving this guy a lot of attention and personal responses, because there's just a lot of bad opinions and assumptions being made, in my honest opinion. Let's see if Matt had anything else to say as we go through the rest of the thread. I never checked page 5. Matt might have stopped responding because, again, at some point it's a circular conversation to keep going back and forth with somebody who clearly thinks. And then Necro Felipe Lima's in here, says, I'm with Matt even before reading his words. Switch 2 will see growth from any side of the Nintendo audience, both new and old, when it comes to improved AAA support right from the start. To me, popular IPs will get their releases in the nearest time frame possible, if not one-to-one. I mean, yeah, Necro Felipe Lima knows about a few games coming. I know about some games coming. A lot of us know about some games coming. All you got to do is know game developers and be friendly with them, and they will just let you know that there are things coming. We can't talk about it, of course, and I can't talk about who I know or where I know or what companies they work at, but I know about a bunch of AAA games coming. So to me, this whole conversation just sheds light on this idea that there's a lot of dooming on Switch 2, but yet Switch 2 has everything going for it. And I think there are just some gamers that have a hard time accepting that. And when a developer is telling you directly from their own development pipeline that the person's wrong, it's wild to me to keep debating it. I do think that it's fine to be skeptical that Switch 2 can find the same success as Switch 1, but I don't think you should be telling a developer that how dare you see growth in the Switch 2 market. You didn't see it in the Switch market. Well, the Switch wasn't technologically at a place that it seemed feasibly responsible for many companies to support it. He's telling you directly Switch 2 is in the technical realm that third parties want it to be. This is wild. Let me know your guys' thoughts about this down in the comments below. Thank you to Matt for your words over there and helping straighten things out. I do appreciate having someone from in the industry finally say something publicly, especially during this holiday season. I am Nathaniel Rubblegans from Nintendo Prime, and I'll catch you in the next video.